7, a.k.a. Diz, and this is The Force Always.
Welcome to the show. Let's get into it. Star Wars Celebration 2019 Chicago is almost sold out. Friday and Saturday adult tickets completely sold out. I know that there's about 200 left for the Thursday. Your best option now is Sunday and the Monday. Okay, so check that out. You want to get in sooner than later. That's Star Wars Celebration Chicago 2019. Check the website. To more news, this week's episode of The Resistance, the new Star Wars animation, will have a voice by Elijah Wood. He was the one that was in Lord of the Rings, and if you can remember way back, he was in even Back to the Future 2, Elijah Wood. What's interesting about this is that I actually saw him exit the Last Jedi world premiere in LA. I was actually on the outside part there, and I did see him exit. So he could be sort of in negotiations, possibly, with more Star Wars stuff in the future, but he will be one of the voices in the new episode, The Resistance, the new Star Wars animation, this week's episode. He voices a guy named, or girl, or whatever you would like to say, alien, anything. The name is Rucklin, or Rucklin, whatever, how you want to pronounce it. I don't know, but this week's episode, Elijah Wood, claim to fame in Lord of the Rings especially. And he played Frodo, just to let you know. To more news, on the set of Episode 9, Star Wars Episode 9, Oscar Isaac has been saying that there's been a lot of sort of ad-lib or freestyle, as I would say, on the set, which is sort of great for the actors. They can sort of relax a bit more, have a bit more fun. Personally, when I do this show, it's scripted, but it's also a bit of freestyle. I'm a big advocate for freestyle. I think it sort of creates a bit of fun, realness, and having it on the Episode 9 set is great, but you just, it's a really hard story to lock down sometimes, Star Wars, with the fans especially. So let's just wish it's all turning out. I mean, one of the best freestyles ever was Harrison Ford when in Empire Strikes Back. I don't know if you remember, but when Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, said, "I love you," and he said, "I know." I mean, that was just one moment, but it was massive in the Star Wars history. So so there's a lot of freestyle happening on the set of Star Wars Episode 9. To more news, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, that's aka Luke Skywalker, has officially said he is in Episode 9, which is not really big news, but technically it's official. He said it himself, that he is in Episode 9. So in what form, we're going to find out. To more news, a big comic release this week, a big one. It's a Darth Vader number 22. Now this one, I tell you why it's big. The actual story is about the ancient Sith. Now it sounds really hardcore for the hardcore fans, and yes it is. But it's lots of juicy information. It's one of these stories within the comic that is going to be seen to have a lot of information for the future and the past, and lots of information. It's just for the hardcore Star Wars fan. I would definitely say go and get this. It's got some great juicy information about Darth Vader, the castle, Mustafar, the ancient Sith, everything. It's a real information-packed thing. The only thing I'll say, which is later in the show, I'll talk about that more. But anyway, so that's the Star Wars news for this week. Let's get into the views. Views is not about YouTube counts, the amount of people watching particular episodes or YouTube channels. It's not about predictions. It's about my story ideas. And it's this one is going to be lending to the big comic release this week, Darth Vader number 22, about the ancient Sith. Now, I think the whole story has greatness to it, information packed, little bits and pieces. I won't get right into it. I don't want to sort of spoil anything here. I have checked it out. It's really good. It's just interesting. I would say for the commercial fan, it's a little bit out there, like the regular sort of moviegoer, but it's still got basis for, story building. The part that I'm going to say, my story idea for this ancient Sith, the whole ancient Sith thing is a great story idea coming from Lucasfilm. But my input to this is the look of this ancient Sith, this helmet sort of thing. It looks a little Avengers Age of Ultron. I'm not the biggest Marvel fan. I like them. I like Marvel. I like the whole Avengers thing. I like it. I enjoy it. I'm just not a massive fan like with Star Wars. But I think it looks a little bit Avengers Age of Ultron. And the actual story for Avengers Age of Ultron was good to okay. Nothing great. I think the whole problem with that particular film was the villain. And it just looked too futuristic. It was a bit lifeless. And I sort of see this in this ancient Sith within the Darth Vader comic. It looks a little bit lifeless. It doesn't need to be over the top. It just looks a little bit plain. And it doesn't look ancient. That's the whole thing. It needs to have something that is ancient about it. It just looks like it's futuristic. Whether that's what they're trying to do, I don't know, but I didn't get ancient about this. I got more future sort of feel to the look of this ancient Sith. But I think my story idea is to really build upon this idea in episode 9 somewhere. Now, episode 9 is going to be filled with new revelations, new things, because the way that episode 8 left us, which is not my opinion, there's a lot of emptiness there, so it is partly my opinion. It's still a good film, The Last Jedi, episode 8, but I think episode 9 is going to have a lot of new things about it. It's just, its task ahead really is to have episode 9 not leave us wanting too much more. It needs to have a conclusion to it. Okay, so anyway, going back to the whole view thing, it's about really the Darth Vader comic number 22 about this ancient Sith, and I just think the look of the story ideas is more the look to this character. It looks a bit Age of Ultron. It needs to be a bit more developed, but we need to also consider that the development from this comic book to what we could see in episode 9, if it comes to light, needs to have transition about it. We can't just go bang, let's get a new character. We need something that looks like what they've put out there, but something that's evolved, even if it's been sort of really a lot of dirt to it, a lot of scrapness, a lot of rust, or just cracks or something like this. This will create a really great idea for episode 9 with this ancient Sith. I think, look, going back to an idea in another film, The Dark Knight, one of the big successes for that story was how the Joker looked. It looked really intensely dirty, scrappy, and that's what sold me on the Joker. When I saw the first image of the Joker in The Dark Knight, I said, man, that looks good. Not just that, the whole story and his portrayal of the Joker was amazing, but just the look of the Joker, how it was really messy, it was not perfect, it was... That imperfection is what is needed for this ancient Sith if it is going to appear in episode 9. That's my story idea. It needs to be really, dirtified, if that's a word, or really rusty, or scratches, or cuts, or something, just to really give it that sort of age look, because that's the one thing about Star Wars that we all love, is that sort of used future feel, which is what George Lucas first intended way back in before the release in 1977. But anyway, that's my story idea this time around. Let's get into the reviews. Now, this is a bit of an unusual review. This week here in Australia, I was just, doing my own thing, and I came across a vehicle, and here it is. It bears the number plate Sith. It's got the stickers of, the Imperial sort of logo, and if you look up at the top, it's even got that the Emperor sort of logo as well. The not the Emperor, but the logo that appears in that great episode where that goes sort of back in time, on the time travel sort of episode in the Rebels, that is. So this vehicle here, being a Commodore, it's a Holden Commodore. Now let me explain to you this. In Australia, Holden Commodore is the icon, but it's lost its prestige through the years, but it's still the Australian car. It's still the one that a lot of people here have. It's sort of the Cadillac of Australia, if you to look at it that way. Just thought, as evil as Sith and these logos appear and what they mean, and being a Commodore, I'm not the biggest Commodore fan, but but it's evil, but it's in a funny way, but I mistake you not. This Commodore is a very powerful car. It's a very good evil machine. So I'm sure, if you see this sort of dark side user on the roads, just watch out, because he will tear it up. Anyway, so I give this particular vehicle a 9 out of 10. I think it was beautiful, simple, but just effective. The dark side of Australia, it's the Commodore, with some can debate that as well. But anyway, so that's my reviews this time around. That was 9 out of 10 for that particular unusual appearance that I got to amazingly see. It doesn't happen here much in Australia. I don't get many hardcore fans like this in Australia that I've seen. I know there's some, but I just don't come across them a lot. Let's get into the interviews this time around. So, now that Star Wars Celebration 2019 in Chicago is almost sold out, is it still worth going? And I'll say just yes. There is the Sunday and Monday still available. That's going to be your best 2-day sort of event. What you get out of that, I'm unsure. But it's your best bet to get the Sunday and Monday. There's only 200 tickets left for the Thursday at this stage. It is still worth to check out. Obviously the Friday and Saturday is going to be the pinnacle points, but it is still worth it. You've really got to get these tickets. That's what I think. So it's just worth it. That's the answer to my question. The second question is, what was the biggest complaint that I came across when I was at Star Wars Celebration in 2017? That was in Orlando. What was the biggest complaint amongst the people I was with and with myself? It was the lines at this event. I mean, yes, long lines are going to be big. If you want to get into a really good panel, you are going to be lining up for a long time with a lot of people. That's not the problem. It's the line jumping sort of thing, the coordination of the actual lines, keeping your spot. As the line moves from one place to another within the event, to go from outdoors to indoors to sleepover, things like that, the lines just swap and change. I think that was a really bad part of the whole event. I think that was the biggest complaint amongst the friends I was with over there and with myself. That really needs to be really tightly monitored. Like, you just can't leave it up to the fans there to sort of be completely good with each other. I mean, there's some great people there, but there's some people out there who don't give a stuff about other people. So the coordination of the lines needs to be tight. Okay, so that was the biggest complaint at Star Wars Celebration that I got. It's still a great event. It's really weird, even though lining up for a long time for little events that are sort of big events in a way, big sort of juicy, like the Last Jedi panel or the 40th anniversary panel. It was small, about an hour and a half worth. It's just amazing. And the conversations you have with the people of hardcore Star Wars fans and mild Star Wars fans in these nights are amazing. You will talk non-stop. It's amazing. I look completely forward to that, and there's certain friends that I saw last time there as well. They are going to be there, and but that was the weakest complaint. Anyway, so that's the interviews for this time around. That's the show. Please go over to Patreon and check out Patreon/The Force Always. You know, contribute to the show financially if you can. It's up to you. It's really up to you. I'm here on a weekly basis, only on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, The Force Always, only on YouTube. Message me via Instagram, Twitter, even YouTube itself. And until next time, The Force Always says, keep rocking.